working harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because here's what we know. There's no such thing as job security. Here's what we know. The impact of the coronavirus on your ability to stay employed, the impact of the coronavirus has been devastating. Devastating. And this is a time that you have to look at you. You have to learn something new, something that you love, and something that you can get training and coaching on from someone who's experienced and trained in that area to accelerate your growth and credibility and development so that you can have something else going for you other than a job. I want to help you do that. And for those of you who are already there and want to do what those young people do, I like what the young folks, they talk about BYOB, be your own boss. If you're ready, I want you to put voice in the comment section. Put voice in the comment section. I've been thinking about what I'm going to share with you today. And I've been tracing my tracks. People are always asking me, what did you do differently than others, the thousands of other speakers out here that allowed you to become a national and an international voice of motivation and greatness? And part of the process is I decided I wanted something new for myself. I wanted something new for my family. And I wanted to be able to control my own destiny. I didn't want to be a volunteer victim. We've been conditioned, we've been trained for a job. Things have changed. You got to be an entrepreneur now. You want to create something that you can control. You want to create and have something that you determine how much you're worth, not somebody else determining that. And today you have to live life like you mean it. This is no time that things have changed. We've got to change. We've got to change and with a fierceness, because that's what it is. That the things that are dramatic and the millions of people that are emboldened and determined to hold you down, we've got to be stronger than them and more determined than them. Everybody can use this. What I'm going to talk about today, the value of improving yourself and working on yourself.
That's right, you. And why you are so important in this world. The most important thing you have to remember is that you got to stop trying to be like everybody else. Stop trying to be something that you're not meant to be. Stop trying to force yourself to be like other people. What people are and who they are and what they do, regardless if it's good or bad, that's their life, that's what they do. Now we can absorb that information, we can learn from some of that information, but when it's all said and done, you cannot take away from who you really are. The best thing you can do is make the most of the life that you have been given and push forward and get everything you can get out of it. Because you only have so much time in this world, so you got to make the most of it. Now, this thing about being like other people, we look at people, we see the success stories. Everybody's out here, some anyway, out here getting it in, doing their thing. We don't even really know how they got it, but they got it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's for you. You are here in this world for some kind of a reason, some kind of a purpose. Now, what do you do with it? We all want success, but at what cost? There are some sacrifices that you got to make, but don't sell your soul. So get out there and make the most of what you got. It's not going to be easy, I promise you that. Believe me, I know. I'm still trying to figure this thing out. But I'm not going to give up. And I will not sell my soul or sell myself short. But I will continue to work hard at what I have and what God has given me to be the best of me. Now you got to get out there and do the best of you. Because nobody's going to do you better than you. You just got to believe in it. Now there are a lot of people out there, there are a lot of motivational speakers out there, fitness guys, you name it. I can't compare myself to them, and I'm sure they don't compare themselves to me. All I can do is be the best of me. Will I make it? I'm looking forward to making it. Am I hopeful? Absolutely. But how much hope can I have? It's all about the doing part and the faith that I have to have. And that's what's going to get me to where I need to be. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. How long it's going to take? Don't know. But I'm still here, and I'm living, and I'm breathing, and I got to keep moving forward. And that's exactly what you got to do. So don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on the reality that you have a purpose in this world. Keep working hard. Dedicate yourself as best you can. Be the best makeup of yourself. Remember, you are here for a reason. Nobody's going to do you better than you. And you were made for who you are.
The work ethic's a big thing, man. Beat the sun up, that's one thing. You know, there's not a formula. It's like, what do you have to do to build a work ethic? Beating the sun up, it's just you'll never feel bad because you beat the sun up. I don't care. You bitch about it the whole morning, all the way up until you finally wake up, and you're gonna be like, man, I'm sure glad this was awesome. There's something happens before sun's come up that is different, the most different part of the day. It makes you feel good about yourself at the end of the day. On victories, like on victories. I see so many people get sucked into their own victories. And because their work ethic's broken, they don't keep working. They're like, oh, pat on the back. I got my deal. Let's go, let's take a vacation. And you see the destruction of these people. You know, Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl. He that night he's preparing for the next one. The work ethic is just, of all the top people, are so severe. So should be something. It's a great first question. Could be a whole book. Because one of the things, and the last thing I'll say on this is, this helps me, by the way. Just you asking me this, really, the whole thing helps me. The work ethic thing is, it's also so that you start pushing whoever you're in a space with and you're competing with. You know, you want to do some flexing, and the flexing doesn't have to be the car, because you can't just keep buying cars. You can flex work ethic. There's no budget. You can't go broke on it. It's never going to be bad for you. It might bother your spouse. Kids, it's never going to bother the kids. Don't kid yourself. The kids want you just enough, and then they're done. They're like, okay, get out of here. So that whole thing, they played this thing out in the 80s, I think, you know, oh, kids need quantity at a time. The kids just need a quality time. They don't want 3 hours. No kid wants 3 hours of their day. Maybe yours does, not mine does. Am I right on this? I only have 2 kids, so I don't know. And at 17, 18 years old, they're not going to want any of my time. And then they'll come back around later when they want money. And I'll be like, go get your own money. But the work ethic, you know, I do a lot of flexing on the work ethic thing to tell people where I've been, where I'm going, how much I'm going, what I'm doing. It's not for customers. It's for my staff, and it's for the competition, for anybody that thinks they're competition. And we're convinced I'm the most disliked speaker in the space by our contemporaries.
If the person is entrepreneurial and they ask me this question, I always tell them, you know, you've got to take care of your kids, you got to pay the bills. And I said, but, you know, tell me when you work. And they tell me, well, you know, I work, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 and I'm exhausted. And everything else. I said, well, what are you doing with the other 8 hours? Because that's what I did. I worked as a janitor all night long, middle of the night, everything else. I could compress time there because it was based on results, not time. So if I could do a great job in shorter time, I had that time. But then, what I start doing between, 7 o'clock at night and 2 in the morning, which is pretty much the time I worked, that's when I was developing myself, getting the skills, learning, educating, starting the business. So I think people just have to realize it's a gut-wrenching process. It's not, entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Most people fail in entrepreneurship. The vast majority fail. 96% in 10 years, but what happens after 10 years? All clear sailing after that? Anybody remember Lehman Brothers? They ran a century. They had gross revenues over a century of more than $1 trillion with a T dollars. That's what went through their bank accounts over that century, and they're gone. So I don't think it's right for everybody. I think you have to really be clear, is your personality the right personality if you're going to begin in this area? And then if you're going to work for somebody else, you can still become financially free, but that means you got to stop being a consumer and become an owner of under entrepreneurs. You want to own businesses, right? Get out of just being, don't just own an iPhone, own the company. But not just Apple, obviously. But
how do you keep your energy up and your enthusiasm up? How do you do it?
I'm wired for it. It's my nature to some extent, but also the other part is I get to see results. I mean, who here has been touched by my work before? I'm curious. Anybody in this room? So look around the room and I just, how's it hard to be inspired when I'm in a room and a third or 40% or 50% have used my work? And so people come up to me every day, dozens of people a day if I'm traveling, and they tell me the most amazing stories. Outside my children and my wife, that's probably the greatest gift of my life. I never get tired of hearing it, and it just makes me want to deliver more, give more, have more impact.
You get the last word. Tell them what you want to know.
Well, if you're entrepreneurs out there, here's what I'd say to you. I'd say, don't be so damn hard on yourself. I know that sounds counter to being an achiever, but when you're beating yourself up, you're sucking out the energy you need to move forward. It's kind of like, I always tell people there's so much energy, and I've built mine. I do a lot of things to build my energy to be incredibly strong and have really strong endurance, because to me, energy is life.
Hi, welcome back to Mind Control.
What's the impact you want to have on the world?
My impact would be people learn from me in a way that they are empowered by what I taught them. So that when they think of what they learned from me, they no longer think of me. They think of their own base of understanding of how this world works. And so that I become irrelevant. Because if people say, this is true because Tyson said so, then I failed. That's not how you teach someone. That's teaching them by authority. I want to teach you how to think about the world, and then you say, I have a new way to understand the world, and you run off. You don't even look back, because a new level of hunger has descended upon you, and methods and tools to feed that hunger are now accessible to you. So my impact would be that others are impacted and they don't even remember that I had something to do with it. On my tombstone, I want the epitaph: be ashamed to die until you have scored some victory for humanity. And a victory for humanity is not a victory for yourself. It's not statues, it's not your name, it's just humanity's better off. Any of us, I think, should want the world to be a little better off for you having lived in it. That doesn't mean people praising you, not even about that. But what do you have to give with no expectation of return? No one ever told me that I had to search for meaning in life. Many people look for meaning in life as though it's going to be under a rock or behind a tree. And I'm thinking to myself, you have more power than that. You have the power to create meaning in your life rather than passively look for it. So for me, I create the meaning. And meaning to me is, do I know more about the world today than I did yesterday? That enhances meaning for me. By whatever powers I have available to me, have I lessened the suffering of others? Or the corollary to that would be, have I enhanced the life of others? And I don't mean, have I devoted the whole day to doing that? Then I would be ignoring myself. But if there's some small gesture that I can do that can completely add value to someone's life, I'm going to do it. Because the leveraging of 10 minutes of my life into the happiness or enlightenment or the reduced suffering of someone else, I'd be irresponsible if I did not. If Einstein were here and we're talking with Einstein, we could talk to him for hours and hours and hours. You know what question will never come out of our mouths? Is, what college did you go to? I want to go to that same college. I bet most of your people who've sat in this chair, it's not about what college they went to. It's about their own initiative, their own drive, their own ambitions, their own curiosity. That is not taught in school, sadly. School, they view you as this empty vessel that they pour information in, and you test it over here, you get a high grade, you're praised. Is that who become the shakers and movers of the world? I don't think so. School should, as a minimum, preserve that curiosity for you. Yeah, if you lost some of it, because it's not going to be in all of us, put it back in. So that when you graduate school, you can give literal meaning to the word commencement. Commencement means beginning. It doesn't mean ending. And so you leave school and you say to yourself, I now know how to learn. I now have a curiosity of all things I have yet to be exposed to, and I will now become a lifelong learner. Without that, you become ossified in whatever was the body of knowledge that existed the day you graduated. And you will lead a life always looking back at that time without continuing to grow who and what you can become in life.
What was it about your dad that impacted you so much that you still carry today?
For me, at least, was what level of wisdom did he glean in his life and then successfully communicate to me, either by example or by just explicit statement. For example, in high school, he was in gym class and they were lining up and they were about to enter the next athletic unit, and it was track and field. And the gym instructor pointed to my father online and said, Cyril Tyson, everyone look at him. He does not have the body type that would excel in track. And they used him as an example. And he says, what? No one is going to tell me what I can't do in my life. And he used that as a reason to start running. And he started track in that moment. He decided that one of his next tasks in life would be to take up running and excel at it. Within a few years of that, he became world class. At one time, had the 5th fastest time in the world. In the middle distance, they don't run this anymore, 600-yard run. In 1948, the Olympics was not yet ready to come back to us because we're still roiling from the Second World War. Instead, there was still an Olympics. It was called the GI Olympics, and it was held in Hitler's Stadium. So he competed in Hitler's Stadium in the late 1940s. It's just one of the great memories of his life. But the reason I'm saying all of that is they were competing against the New York Athletic Club. In the day, once you graduated college, you needed some sanctioning body to compete with. So there were athletic clubs. The New York Athletic Club at the time accepted only white product. So there was another club called the Pioneer Club, which took everybody who was not accepted to the New York Athletic Club, which was basically blacks and Jews, is really what that came down to. And his best friend, Johnny Johnson, was coming around the back stretch, might have been the quarter mile, coming on the final straightaway. And a runner from the New York Athletic Club is a few paces behind him. And Johnny Johnson overhears that runner's coach say, catch that. And he overheard this. So what did he say to himself? He said, this is one he ain't gonna catch. And that extended his lead to the finish line. And he tells this story not with any bitter tone. So he never had that kind of tone when he shared those stories with us. It was, here's an occasion to parlay what today might be called a microaggression into a reason to excel even more than you had expected of your own abilities and talents. And so I have taken that lesson with me. I met Carl Sagan when I was 17. I was applying to colleges. He was at Cornell. I had been accepted at Cornell, but didn't know what college I wanted to go to. And the admissions office saw that I wasn't totally in the moment there. I didn't know this, they had forwarded my application to him for his reaction. I was already deep in the universe since I was 9. And he sent me a letter. He doesn't know me from Adam. I'm a 17-year-old kid from the Bronx. He's a professor of astronomy at Cornell University. And I get this letter and I open it and it says, I understand you like the same stuff I like. Do you want to come visit the campus to help you decide if you want to go to Cornell? It was like, whoa, now he hadn't done Cosmos yet, that's how old I am, but he was already famous. So I took him up on it. I took a bus up to Ithaca, New York. He met me outside his building on a Saturday, invited me up to his office, saw the labs. I'm there in front of him, he did something really cool. He reached back, didn't even look, grabbed a book off the shelf. It was one of his books. I thought that was a badass thing. Don't even have to look. That's one of my books, yep. Okay, here. And he signed it to me. Neil Tyson, future astronomer, signed Carl. Later in the day, I'm ready to go back to New York. It begins to snow, as it does often in December in Ithaca. And he says, here's my home number. if the bus can't get through in the snow, spend the night with my family and go back tomorrow. I'm thinking, who am I? What? I'm nobody. But I was somebody to him. And I said to myself, if I'm ever as remotely famous as he is, I will treat students the way he has treated me. How do I create meaning in my life as I go forward? My first question of me wasn't, where do I find meaning? It was, how do I create meaning? And that started early teens.
Did you help your kids with this? Is that something that you found a way to sort of educate on or pass down so that they would be asking a similar question instead of doing the sort of wander search thing?
Yeah, I have an unorthodox approach to what we did with our kids. We discussed this, my wife and I wanted to make sure that however they were raised, that they retained the curiosity of childhood into adulthood. Okay, let's say there's a little toddler walking here, okay, crawling on the ground, and comes up and they start grabbing this. What's the first thing? They say, no, don't touch that. Okay, this was an experiment waiting to happen that you just squashed. This is a cup, it has water in it, okay? This is breakable. The kid doesn't know that. They want to experiment, so they'll grab it, it'll fall, it'll break, water will spill all over. That was an experiment you just prevented. They are experimenting with their environment. Everything is new to them. I saw a woman walking with her kid. The kid has galoshes on and a raincoat on, and they're coming down the walkway. And there's this big, juicy, muddy puddle right there. And I said, please let the kid jump in the puddle. You know the kid wants to jump in the puddle. The kid is like 3 or 4. You know the kid, and what does the mother do? She pulls the kid around to prevent that from happening. That's an experiment in cratering. That's what craters happen that way. You splash the water, there's mud, it's fun. You get to see the cause and effect of a force, downward force operating on a fluid. Gone. That was a bit of curiosity in that moment that was extinguished. So, with our kids, curiosity, provided it does not kill them, if it meant we had extra work in front of us, I would do that extra work. And I have pretty high confidence that they'll retain that curiosity through the turbulent middle school years into high school. And what is an adult scientist? But a kid who's never lost the curiosity. We live in a very fractured world today, but what is clear is that the internet has enabled, and social media have enabled people to tribalize. You might go your whole life without ever finding another person who thinks the earth is flat. You go online and you see them all, and they have conventions, and they meet here, even if it's only virtual. So you have ways to say why you are different from other people. And I don't know that that's always a healthy place to be. In a pluralistic land, you want to celebrate differences rather than go out of your way to establish differences and then claim one group is better than another. You can draw a line in the sand between people who transgress but do not hold power over you from those who transgress and do. So the coach who said catch that, he doesn't have power over Johnny Johnson unless you allow him to. This is a famous quote from Martin Luther King. You can only be ridden if your back is bent. When I grew up, it was very common to hear the phrase, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. You recited this. This is what you were told when you came home, when you said, oh, you know, this bully called me a name, and sticks and stones can break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And so this was an inoculation against hate speech, really, against just evil people, just nasty people. You were able to develop a system of defenses against unpleasant people out there. And I haven't heard that phrase in a long time. What I think has happened over the years is we came to learn as a civilization that words can be hurtful. I don't have a problem with that. This is an enlightened new place to understand the role of our emotional state and how it interacts with our world around us. That's an advance in mental health. What I see on the flip side of that coin, however, is people are less able to deal with the very same people who are around today who were around back then. who are calling you names, the people who might be bullying you on the internet by saying things about you. I don't know that we have how to defend against that now other than seeing a counselor for your emotional state. I can say from the era in which I grew up, I don't give a rat's ass what you say to me, okay? Unless you are between me and some goal, then I'll have to navigate that some way. If there's a racist person or a sexist person or a person with some kind of cultural bias, I want to know that, actually. I don't want them to hide that. I want you to say everything you want to say. Then I'll say, okay, that's who you are. That's how you're thinking. So now what do I need to do because you're in my way? Do I dig under you, go around you, leap over you? Or do I go this way and then come out the other side? Yeah, it's longer, it's more effort, it's more energy, but on some level it's sort of same shit, different day. I think we should all get as high grades as you can. But if you don't get the highest grades possible, no one should be standing in judgment of that. If you have some other ambitions that have pathways that don't get encoded in the GPA that other people are referencing.
When you approach a topic that you don't know well, what is your actual process to learn?
Great question. I read things that take me to places where other people think. If I'm an educator, I want to know that. Because when you're speaking to me and I have some understanding of you, I can navigate your receptors for learning. I don't have to have you come to where I am. That's not right. I'm the educator, not you. You're the curious person. So I'm going to meet you on your territory. What I do for the public is almost 80+% of it is driven by duty, not by ambition.
What gives you the sense of duty?
Because I can do something. And if I can do it better than others, and it's for a greater good in society, I would be irresponsible if I did not.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
Hurt people will go above and beyond to hurt people. Insecure people will go out of their way to create insecurities. Dysfunctional people will take a peaceful, happy, and beautiful situation and figure out a way to create dysfunction where there is none.
What we should do when somebody does us wrong, forgive them and let it drop. Leave it and let it go.
When people can walk away from you, let them walk. When people can walk away from you, let them walk.
Maybe somebody's talking about you, trying to make you look bad. You could easily be upset, offended, try to pay them back. Why don't you try a different approach? Drop it, leave it, and let it go.
I don't want you to try to talk another person into staying with you, loving you, calling you, caring about you, coming to see you, staying attached to you. I mean, hang up the phone. When people can walk away from you, let them walk.
Don't waste another minute being bitter. Drop it, leave it, let it go.
Turn your wounds into wisdom. You will be wounded many times in your life. You'll make mistakes. Some people will call them failures. But I have learned that failure is really God's way of saying, excuse me, you're moving in the wrong direction.
You literally are your surroundings. If you have a problem with your life, you should have a problem with the people in your life. You're going left, and they're going right. You're going right, and then they go left.
The enemy wouldn't be fighting you if you weren't a threat. Oh, get ready. Favor is about to turn things around. Favor is not going to keep you from the storm, but favor will bring you out of the storm.
What do you do when you tried and failed and you want to quit and you want to give up? Sometimes you can be blessed and be unhappy. Because even though things are going right, they're not going according to what you had believed and expected, and you know that something is missing out of your life.
Discouragement is born when we compare ourselves with somebody else. Just think about where I came from. Just think about what God started me out as and where I am today. And it's encouraging to not compare yourself with others, but to remember how far you've come and where you started.
The night seasons are not the end. The bad breaks, the disappointments, that's simply another step on the way to your destiny.
Other than death, all failure is psychological. Does not mean that you won't lose some battles, because you will. We all will. But it does mean that as long as you don't surrender, as long as you don't quit, then you haven't failed.
There are moments in our lives that we feel completely alone. We feel as though no one knows what we're going through. It is because of the uniqueness of the challenges that confront you are so unique to you that you feel like I'm up against it all by myself.
It's an uphill battle. And along that road, you're not going to see too many friends. You're going to see your shadow most often. See, the thing is, for many people, they've tried the same path you're on, and they failed. As you walk this journey, you're going to see carcasses all over the place of people that didn't quite have it. It's that your success is like a spotlight shining down on their missed opportunities. Success, many will love you for it. The majority will hate you because your success reminds them of where they could have done it, but they came up short and how they didn't revisit it. The difference between a winner and a loser, the failure's there every single time. It's just the winner gets back up and does it again until it goes his way. So now you're down that path and you're all alone.
And generally, that type of circumstance is born because it's not because you don't have anybody to talk to, but can you trust them? Eventually, even the most disciplined amongst us, the corners of your mouth will droop down. Your smile will turn into a frown. Eventually, even if you have to wait till everybody's gone to sleep, a tear will run across the bridge of your nose because you're dealing with stuff that is so deep and so complicated that you feel like you're in it by yourself. But you are not alone in the battle. You're not alone in the struggle, that God has a strategy. And when it's all over, you're going to see that even though you couldn't see him, he was there all the time.
I promise you guys, if today you never say good enough, tomorrow you'll always have enough. What I'm saying is the character of who you are. The character defines the success, defines the fame, and it starts right there. Championships aren't won in the theater or the arena. They're won in the thousands of hours in the training room, the labs, and the 5 a.m. runs. When everyone else is sleeping, that's when it's won. The heart of a champion is a light switch that's always on. It doesn't go on and off when someone's watching. It's constant. It begins right now with no one looking, man. And how you hold yourself, how you see yourself. What do you do when no one's watching? If you do it then, I guarantee you, you'll be doing it when everyone's watching.
Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. It's not your fault if your partner cheated and ruined your marriage, but it is for damn sure your responsibility to figure out how to take that pain and how to overcome that and build a happy life for yourself. As long as we're pointing the finger and stuck in whose fault something is, you're stuck in suffering. The road to power is in taking responsibility.
Take full responsibility for what happens to you. Accepting full responsibility. It's the day you know you've passed from childhood to adulthood. Learn to reap in the fall without apology if you do well, and without complaint if you don't. That's maturity. I used to have that long list of reasons why I wasn't doing well. I blame my negative relatives. They were always putting me down. I blame my cynical neighbors. They're just selfish, looking out for themselves. Won't loan you money? I used to blame the economy. I blame the community. That's a pretty good list for not doing well, isn't it?
The road to power is in taking responsibility. Your heart, your life, your happiness is your responsibility and your responsibility alone. Taking responsibility, accepting responsibility is not an admission of guilt. Taking responsibility is a recognition of the power that you seize when you stop blaming people. It's not like you're letting somebody who wronged you off the hook. Taking responsibility is taking your power back.
A few months later, I learned very quickly to tear up my list, reasons for not doing well, and I threw it away. And I got me a fresh piece of paper, and I put one word on it: me. There's a Black Heritage spiritual that says, it's not my mother nor my father, nor my brother nor my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's not what happens, it's what you do. If anything can go wrong, it will. That's one of Murphy's laws. So here's one of the key questions of the evening. Starting tomorrow, what are you going to do that'll make a change in your life's direction? Now see, if you don't do something starting tomorrow that'll make a difference, guess what? Because the next 5 are going to be like the last 5 unless you, major key, tomorrow, change it all. Or change a little, or change something, or don't change. It's choice time. You can do whatever you want. But it's nice to know any day you wish you can change your whole life.
We go through the actions of commitment, but we're not really committed. We're not really connected. We're not really joined because we have no understanding of our responsibility to any relationship. You cannot have true relationship without reciprocity. You cannot get into a relationship to get and not give. You collect anniversaries, you've got a lot of birthdays, but you've never been the person that you could be because the could be is locked up behind commitment, and until you're committed, you'll never get the could be. Wonder what would have happened in school if you'd been committed. Wonder what would have happened in your marriage if you'd have really thrown your whole self. You've always been casual.
In what you've done with your life thus far, is it giving you what you want? Is it giving you what you want? When you look toward the future, when you look at all that's going on out here, is there some place within yourself you say, hey, I know I need to be out there in that arena. I know I can do more than what I've been doing. Is that something that you begin to look at within yourself? See, I say if you look at your life, and if you're not getting what you want, you owe it to yourself to do something differently. If you're on a job, 85% of Americans go to jobs that they're unhappy. If you're doing something 8 hours a day that you don't like, it's not giving you what you want, it's not giving you a strong feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment. If that's what it is, you owe it to yourself to start strategically working to change directions. Most people will resist change. Most people will fight change as if change would be worse than what they're experiencing. Most people will not challenge the unknown. They won't just step out there. See, there are certain things that's got to be in place. They got to see it all together. And life isn't like that. That's not how you grow. As you begin to look toward the future, begin to know that whatever it takes for you to create that, you got that. You've got genius in you. You've got goodness in you. If you decide to take the initiative to change the current quality of your life, I say to you that you will find that the universe is on your side. Will it be easy? No. Will you have some opposition? Yes. Will I make a lot of mistakes? Yes. See, a lot of people won't try anything different in life because they don't want to get hurt. Pain is everywhere. But most people spend their life not wanting to deal with the pain of rejection, the pain of being disappointed, the pain of being criticized, the pain. That's called life. But guess what? There's no gain without pain.
If you don't know exactly what you want, or you let yourself get beyond that into something general, you're not going to achieve it. Clarity is power. You got to know the specific result you're after. What do you want? Why you're doing it? Because you know what? You may get a big goal. As soon as I want to make $1 billion, I want to bring peace to the earth. Why? Because as soon as you come up with a goal, all the obstacles show up. So you got to get yourself past that. And the way to get past that is have enough reasons. Reasons come first, answers come second. To ask intelligent, you got to know why you want it, have enough drive to make it happen, enough juice to make it happen. If you don't have enough reasons, you will not make it happen. What is going to get you to actually fall through? Because the first plan's not going to work and the second plan's going to work, so you better have enough plans. If the first two don't work, you still got something else. Otherwise, you're going to be having excuses why it didn't work.
That's a pain. Don't you know that's something? When you know, I was in a seminar once and this lady stood up. If I had my life to live over again, she talked about all of the things that she would do. And you can feel the pain of regret in her voice. She was trying not to experience the pain of defeat, the pain of disappointment, the pain of loss, and she still experienced pain. It was right there. Most people are governed by their habits, their fears, and the opinions of others. A lot of people never try anything differently because they have been convinced by people in their lives that they value that they can't do it. They're living within the context of the opinions that other people have of them. The low expectations. Many people doubt themselves because when they thought about doing something at some critical point in their lives, somebody they respected and honored, someone they trusted said, "You can't do that." And they accepted that.
You try this without God, you tripping. You tripping. See, for every time you have a plan, an aspiration, or a goal, this thing comes along called life. It happens to everybody. You're going to lose somebody you care about one day. Somebody going to close the plant you thought was going to stay open so you could retire. That's a false hope to think you're going to have a wonderfully carefree life.
I'm wondering this morning if there's anybody here that life has handed you something that you didn't expect. The one thing I can tell you for sure is that nothing is for sure. Life will often disrupt what you expected. That just as soon as you have it down in a nice, neat little box of how you think it's gonna go, it will never be what you expected it to be. So you gotta get used to being a little disappointed. You gotta get used to being a little bit shocked. You gotta get used to walking into situations and being flexible and adjustable. Because if you are not flexible, you cannot survive.
Sometimes we look at pieces in our lives that don't make sense. The key is what we do in our times of pain. Pain will change us. Every painful time, even though you don't like it, it's developing something in you that can only be developed in the tough times. Eventually, that will pass. You'll get through it, but you will be different in those tough times.
Many of you know that God will make things uncomfortable to get you out of your comfort zone, to put you in a place of purpose and destiny, to rise to the height of your calling and soar above your adversities and fly like the eagle you were created to be.
God never said that we would understand everything that happens along the way, but He did promise that it would all work out for our good. The key is what we do in our times of pain. If you go through a divorce, a legal battle, a friend betrays you, eventually that will pass. You'll get through it, but you will be different. Now, how the pain changes you is up to you. You can come out bitter, or you can come out better. You can come out with a chip on your shoulder blaming God, or you can come out stronger with a greater confidence in God. You can come out defeated, giving up on your dreams, or you can come out with a new passion, a new fire, excited about the new opportunities in front of you. All of us experience pain. My challenge, don't just go through it, grow through it. That difficulty is an opportunity to get stronger, to develop character, to gain new competence. Anybody can give up. Anybody can let it overwhelm you. But you know what that's doing? Wasting your pain. That pain is not there to stop you. It's there to prepare you, to increase you, to develop you.
God is a merciful God. He didn't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't set you up to fail. You're tripping, man. Even if you're wrong, he forgives us. Just keep moving, man. It ain't nothing. Now, look, I've had some painful moments in this like you. But hey, I look for the bright side, man. I expect something good to happen.
See, whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Not to stay, just to pass. It's just going through. The biggest challenge is to know what's happening. This is a part of this thing we call life. This too shall pass. And maintaining perspective, putting it in perspective. See, a lot of us, because of our limited vision of ourselves, a lot of us who begin to focus on problems and enable them to overwhelm us, we begin to think that we have no options. We begin to believe that there's no way out. You can decide that you're going to stand up to life. And all of these things that are happening to me right now, they're just temporary inconveniences.
You're going to go through things that are not fair. It's easy to live discouraged, but if you'll just stay in faith and keep moving forward, in time, God will make all things beautiful. Nothing beautiful about going through a loss or dealing with an illness. Just give it some time. You don't have to live worried. God is working behind the scenes. What you thought was going to limit you the rest of your life, the bad break, the mistake you made, that is not how your story ends. Beauty is coming. It's going to turn out better than you've imagined. God will make all things beautiful. Not just the good breaks, not just the promotions, that's obvious. But He'll make the disappointments, the mistakes. That's how awesome our God is. Don't give up on your dreams. Bitter over the person that walked away or upset over the contract that should have been yours. Let it go. God saw what happened. He said He would pay you back double for the wrongs. He just needs some time. Now, while you're waiting, stay in faith. When is it ever going to turn around? This is not fair. Pass the test. Keep going to work with a good attitude. At the right time, you're going to see Him show out in your life in such a way that you don't think about what you've lost. You're so fulfilled, you don't dwell on the negative things in your past. You keep honoring God, and He's going to make up for what you didn't get. He's going to have the right people come to you to push you into your purpose. He knows who left you out. He knows the times you didn't think you could go on. He's going to do something awesome in your life. Perhaps you went through a breakup. You're hurting. You're lonely. God is not finished. He's not going to leave you depressed. He has someone amazing coming where you're going to be happier and more fulfilled than you've ever been. Don't judge the rest of your life by one difficult season. Thoughts will tell you it's never going to change. Just accept it. Don't believe those lies. God promised He will make all things beautiful. Now here's the key. Just give it some time. The mistake we make often is we get in a hurry. Voices whisper, if it was going to happen, come on, man, it would have happened by now. Trust the process. All things in its time will be beautiful. If it hasn't happened yet, then it hasn't been the right time. When it's your time to see beauty, promotion, vindication, it will happen. How we wait is important. If we wait upset, God, why did these people do me wrong? That's going to delay the beauty. The right way to wait is in an attitude of faith, knowing that He's working all things for your good, expecting His favor. This difficulty didn't come to stay, it came to pass. God being for me is more than the world being against me. God knows how to make all things beautiful if you'll just give Him the time. You don't understand, it wasn't fair, just keep moving forward. God is not going to waste anything you went through. You're about to come out to new levels, see favor that you've never seen. Quit believing those lies that you've had too many bad breaks. You have a good reason to live sour. Look at what you've been through. That was all setting you up for something you've never imagined. Things that were meant to harm you, struggles that have tried to discourage you, bad breaks that should have limited your life. This is a new day. You're about to see vindication, new opportunities. The tide is turning in your favor. What was meant for your harm, God is turning to your advantage. That there's a time for weeping, a time for loss, but that is not the end of the story. God also said He will make all things beautiful in its time. There's a time for restoration, a time for deliverance, a time for celebration. Give God the time, He'll make all things beautiful.
And here's what I want to say to you. For those of you that have experienced some hardships, don't give up on your dream.